Data Viz collaboration. Teamwork makes the data work.
This is going to be Viz of the day.
And I didn't believe her.
When did you know that, Anne?
No, I knew it was going to be a quality. Like as soon as we got the data, I saw the work ethic of Sarah. I was just like, this is going to be Viz of the day.
Welcome to the Data Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. This podcast is brought to you by Business Intelligence. That's BIZNIS Intelligence. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Business Intelligence to stay up to date with Tableau training and the Data Nerd podcast. Connect with me on LinkedIn or stream the Data Nerd podcast across all major podcast platforms. Welcome, everyone, to the Data Nerd podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming two guests with us, Anne-Sophie Pereira and Sarah Pallett. Today, we have a special podcast, and we have three of us here because we're going to be talking about collaboration, and more particularly, or specifically, data viz collaboration. And I'll let them explain, their story and how they work together. But before we start, I would like to introduce them and give a little bit of background on who they are. So Anne-Sophie is a London-based strategy data analyst at LinkedIn, where she leverages data to help clients understand their audiences better. Her evenings are dedicated to her passion for data visualization, focusing on unique topics like TV series, music, and even the Eurovision Song Contest. Since 2021, she has earned 3 Viz of the Day recognitions on Tableau Public, with one of them featuring her Ted Lasso visualization. She also placed in the top 10 for Tableau's Iron Viz competition and was longlisted 3 times in the Information is Beautiful Awards, reflecting her commitment to creating engaging, visually impactful data stories. And Sarah's journey has been one of transformation. Previously an advertising executive and then a dedicated stay-at-home parent, she found herself drawn to data-driven insights. Her Tableau journey began 4 years ago with the Data Fam community and initiatives like Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, RWFD, and TUGS, Tableau user groups. Self-taught through these resources and Tableau's eLearning module, Sarah is now a skilled data visualization consultant. She works with clients in marketing, healthcare, and insurance, turning data into compelling narratives. Originally from Toronto, Sarah now calls Los Angeles home. Sarah and I are actually originally both from Canada, and we're both transplanted in the United States, so we have that in common. But welcome, Sarah and Anne-Sophie, to the Data Nerd podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
I'm excited to get this. We've been in talks for a while to kind of get this recorded, and I'm glad that we're getting to do that now. But before we start, this being the Data Nerd podcast, I do like to ask all my guests an initial introductory question, and that question being, are you a data nerd? And if so, tell me when you realized you are one. So Anne-Sophie, I'll start with you.
I think it's when you get side glances from the people around you because you start asking too many questions. And so, I'm watching TV or I'm listening to music. I'm just like, I'm wondering if, and then I just ask the most random question, really data-led. So for instance, for previous topics, I just, when you try to quantify stuff, especially stuff which is hard to quantify, I have a big thing of quantifying the qualitative. And when you realize and you see other people's reaction and they look at you like, yeah, no, you're being like, you're overthinking this. Yeah, that's when I realized maybe I'm a bit of a data nerd. I don't know about Sarah.
Yeah, no, I think the inquisitive nature is part of being a data nerd, right? It's not just about numbers, it's about asking the right questions. Yeah, so that's a great story. How about you, Sarah?
So I think I've always been an inner data nerd. As a young child, I would always talk about sports stats with my dad and get really excited about that. And oh, isn't that cool? And this athlete broke that record and all that kind of stuff. But that was always just kind of like, oh, I'm a sports fan. But then when somebody that knows me really well introduced me to Tableau, and I saw like the power of being able to make data accessible using a visualization tool, and you can make it aesthetically pleasing, that's when like this inner data nerd really came to the forefront. And it was like, oh wow, like data can be so fun. And so it was really, the tool that unleashed the data nerd in me. And I was like, wow, this is my passion.
You're not the first person I've heard that from, where Tableau has really allowed them to like get to or discover something that they didn't realize they knew about themselves, right? For me, I always had the artistic side, but Tableau allowed me to use art and data together. And that's why I fell in love with it, right? And so for you, you realized you loved data once you started using a tool like Tableau, right? And that's great to hear. And today we're gonna talk about your data viz collaboration together, which ended up being one of the Tableau Viz of the days, which is the Ted Lasso um, dashboard, or I don't know, what would you call it? The Ted Lasso dashboard? Is that what you call it? Okay. And so this is a beautiful dashboard. And for those who haven't seen it, I am going to put a link to that dashboard in the show notes for this podcast so you guys can have a look. But it's a beautiful dashboard. It looks visually appealing, but also tells a great story. Okay. And I think that's, it checks all the boxes of what Tableau's meant to be. Right. So can you guys talk about like how did you guys work together on this? And like, I mean, obviously you're not even in the same country. How did you get to know each other? And tell us a story about your collaboration and how you got to work on this project together.
I can get started, but and I am so sorry, I'm gonna forget half the names, but I know that Nicole Classen and other people, and I'm so sorry, have started like an initiative around like a hashtag Viz collab, trying to get people to a bit like matching like on dating apps, but they were trying to you would apply and they would try to match you with somebody. And then what would happen is you would have like a first call where you would introduce each other, try to find a topic in common, or and also get like a sense of like how the match is. And honestly, I am so surprised it took us like it seems to me it took us 30 seconds to agree on a topic. But
Yeah.
I don't know, Sarah, if you remember like the same or
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think with our first call, we hit it off, and the Ted Lasso idea surfaced, and we didn't know exactly what the end result was going to look like, but certainly, like we knew that there was, uh, a viable dashboard in this idea, and we kind of ran with it.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, do you want to give a little bit of background on like who is Ted Lasso, or what is his dashboard about? Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, I can take a stab at answering that. So Ted Lasso is a very popular Apple TV show, and it's about Ted Lasso, the main character. He's a fictional. It's not a true story, but he is an American football coach that is hired to go overseas and coach a European football team, which is soccer, right? And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of humor that unfolds just based on that premise. It's a very heartwarming story. And we, at that time, there was just 2 seasons. And so we decided to rewatch both seasons and capture all of the pop culture references that Ted Lasso makes in his dialogue. The show is very cleverly written. It's a really well done, and we soon realized that there were so many pop culture references. This was actually giving us an insight into the character of Ted Lasso, who he was. And surprisingly, there was very few sports references. There was actually quite a few like art and history and cultural, pop culture references that really like gave us a lot of insight into his character. And so really the dashboard is a character study on, who Ted Lasso is and all the fun pop culture references that are baked into the dialogue.
Yeah, I have to confess when I first talked to you guys about this podcast, I had not watched Ted Lasso. Okay, so after that, I'm like, let me give it a shot, and I started watching it. I'm not done yet, but it's a great show, and I do see a lot of those pop cultural references in there as well. So I mean, this is not a plug on Apple TV or the show itself, but that's just the nature of the content of the dashboard that you guys worked on, right? And you did give a presentation on this at Tableau Conference as well, right?
Yes, I did. One of the techniques that we used tied out images in the map layer and parameter actions, and it helped with the storytelling component of it. So when we originally were playing around with all of this content that we wanted to display, we had like a long scrolling portrait format, but it just didn't have like the snazzy, Ted Lasso vibe.
Yeah.
And so then we ended up with like 4 dashboards with navigation buttons, but it was really slow and performance was really compromised. And so then we did a lot of sleuthing on Tableau Public and DataFam blog posts and came upon this brilliant solution and implemented it. So that was the Tableau conference presentation.
Great. And so tell me about the collaboration aspect here, right? Like what did you guys collaborate on, and what was your roles in this? Each one of your, like Anne-Sophie, like how did you help in the development of the dashboard, and Sarah, what was your role as well?
Oh, you know what? Like, I don't, and that's not something we discussed at the beginning. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. It just happened organically.
Mhm.
Like, I'm more than happy to say, that all the credit on anything technical wizardry is on Sarah. Like, and I'm so happy she did the presentation at the Tableau conference because I wouldn't have been able to explain to you like all the map layers and all that stuff. But again, let's start from the beginning. Okay, so there was the ideation, then we had to both get the data because there was not one database. We needed a database of every single time the character would make a pop culture reference.
Mm.
Then what does that pop culture reference mean? Because it's not obvious for everybody all the time. Sometimes it's a bit Easter eggy, so explaining that. Also assigning some metadata to the pop culture reference, like what is the year, of the song, or so, or, what is the topic? Is it a music reference? Is it a sports reference? It is a cinema reference, etc. So, and all that collecting. So basically, we had the very hard work of rewatching the show. I think Sarah, you took season 2. I think I
I
took,
think,
but we
yeah,
each of us took one season,
yeah.
and then we had to do the job of really creating the metadata. As you can imagine, like it always looks like it's easy to do, but it took us like a really long
Well,
time.
I
And
can
then obviously,
imagine. Yeah.
like we had to standardize. For instance, let's say that I wrote, oh, this is a movie, and Sarah put it's a film. Like then we had to clean the data, but every data analyst has to do that. So, but I would say that like one of the big task for us was creating a really custom database because there was nothing out there. And then after that, this is where it got like I think like we both worked on storyboarding, like and we couldn't. It was it was not there, but we also decided, what, like sometimes you just need to make it happen, make it look like a chart so that you get a sense of what works, what doesn't work. So I think like part of the collaboration is also try things. And it's funny because Sarah said one thing at some point, and I remember when she said it, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy you said it, because I agree. Is she wanted each reference to be represented as a seat. And if you haven't seen the show, it won't make sense. But basically, it's taking the visual elements of the show to signify the data of the show, because the seats of the stadiums are like the seat of a football stadium, and it made sense. If you know the show, you know. But of course, it's not a classic bar chart or a line chart or anything. But then after that, like, it was a lot of back and forth with the technicality. And I'm so sorry, my cat has decided to join this podcast. But yeah, it was just a lot of back and forth until like we got to the final results, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing that you had to, this data did not exist. You had to really curate and create that data by just watching and taking notes of each show, each episode, right? How many hours did that take?
Yeah, we don't
know.
Or how much time did it take? Like, are we talking weeks, months, days? Like, how long of a period was that?
I think it took us 3 months to clean the data. However, and I want to really highlight this, it was on and off. Like, you know, we had periods of time where we would go for a month for Christmas. And by the way, this collaboration had been like the whole project, I think it was a bit more than a year. However, two things. We knew it had a finished deadline because we knew we wanted to launch it at the moment of the launch of the 3rd season of Ted Lasso, because we wanted to make the most of the excitement for the last season of the show.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And secondly, we were not in a hurry, in the sense of, we knew that this was a passion project. We wanted to get it done right. So we had a deadline, which was an unknown deadline. I don't know if that helps. But I think every passion project should have a deadline.
I that's what I was going to say. I agree. Even if it's a personal project, if it's a hobby, I think you still have to set deadlines, because it forces you to do the work. If there's no deadline, you feel like you don't have to do it. So yeah, that's great. So why do you think the collaboration here made this a better dashboard? Could you not have done it solo? Each one of you, like if Anne-Sophie, if you tried to do this on your own, or Sarah, you tried to do it on your own, could you not have come up with the same dashboard? Or not the same dashboard, but I mean, a good dashboard?
I think one of the reasons for the success was that we recognized early on each other's strengths, and we really played to those and really lifted those up. And I think that, like, for example, Anne-Sophie is like a super whiz when it comes to Figma. And that's what we ended up using for all the background visuals.
Yeah.
And, she just ran with it. And like, I honored and respected that. Like, yes, please go for it, And so I think, taking our complementary strengths and just lifting each other up in that way really was one of the keys to the success. And also, we both had a desire to do great work. And that really, it really drove us to produce something that we were both really proud of. And, it was kind of, we kept each other accountable, right? We had our weekly cadences. We would check in once a week with our Zoom calls, and we had shared documentation. We used Google Drive. And I could tell early on when we were collecting our data that Anne-Sophie was like-minded in the sense that like details mattered, And so I'd go into our shared spreadsheet and I'd see her details and be like, yes, she's my people. And so just like almost, that first month, I was like, yeah, this is going to be great.
I think for me, it's just, if there were things that were surprising, I didn't know, like, but like, for instance, like Sarah was really good at the copy, like the lightheartedness of the copy and how it fits the topic. I can read a lot of Sarah in that. Okay, I took care of the part of Figma, but Sarah had an eye and an opinion. And it's that feeling of sometimes if you're on your own, you don't have that feedback, and also knowing that the other person is not giving you feedback, like the other person wants to do really good. And so the feedback was, I am giving you this feedback because I want this to really look awesome. That made it's that trust that that this person wants the best of this. That made the collaboration much better. And honestly, like personally, technically, I'm not there yet. I wouldn't have been able to make it work. So I think like no, I wouldn't have been able to do this myself. No, absolutely not. Even just like data collecting would have killed me probably.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what both of you are talking about, you can draw a lot of parallels to your regular job or working I don't know, whatever role you're in, whether it's data analyst, data storyteller, data visualization developer, whatever your role is. Um, very rarely will you be doing everything by yourself. You have to depend on others and work with others, right? I'll give you my example, right? Like, so I work, I develop Tableau dashboards in my full-time job, right? And so that's what I do. But I could not do it without the help of data engineering, who helps curate that data, clean that data, and provide me with, the 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 regular data refreshes and cadences and whatever I need, right? And so I think when you talk about this project, which was something you guys were doing as a passion, right? It wasn't for work, but if you draw parallels to what you guys do um, for based on your background or for your full-time job, um, you can draw parallels there as well, right? Like did you learn things working together here that you can then apply at your own job, or vice versa? Are there things that you learned at work that you said, okay, we need to apply working together here?
I think like the Excel spreadsheet, like the Google spreadsheet of project management, that's something that I brought from work.
Yeah.
But like what I can tell you is that like all the Tableau technique that took such a long time to implement and test, etc. These are things that can easily be applicable. Okay, it's an interactive exploration. It's a dashboard, but it's also like really interactive, an explanatory analysis. I'm not entirely sure, but we on a daily basis use Tableau to create dashboards like this, but there are a lot of things that can be used here.
I agree with Anne-Sophie, the documentation, the notes that we had to make for each other to share, because we are in very different time zones. So I would work on it and make notes, and then she would be able to just log in and see those notes that I made and pick up. So definitely, being able to share notes with a teammate is definitely, something I've been able to carry over. And just the fact that it really fired up the learning from others part of my day. I find that, Tableau is a practice profession, right? Like we're constantly learning and upskilling new ways of doing things. And just screen sharing with Anne-Sophie and learning ways that she does stuff, just really like I was like, oh yeah, this is so great. And that kind of it I've been able to carry over. And do that with the other projects, whether it's passion projects or my day job.
Yeah. And I think working with stakeholders like at a job is part of the job as well, right? Managing your stakeholders, it can be tricky as well. There's different opinions. Sometimes people don't agree with each other, and you kind of have to work that out. Did that happen here? Did you guys always agree on everything, or did you have difference of opinions, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, I think there were times in the project when we had separate ideas of what to do next or how to solve what we were trying to get at. Um, I think one of the benefits of that, though, was from me, it helped me articulate the why this we should do it this way because, or it also pushed me to explore, like, is this really the best way to do it? So I was able to like look at some other ways we could do things and, either circle back to that original thought or improve upon it with what I found. So it really pushed me to articulate and research different ways of doing things.
I agree. I think like I don't think there was a lot of things that were just like we totally disagreed. Like but it's also the understanding that like the other person is coming from a place of I want this to really look good. And I think also it's very easy to think that your opinion, like, this is the intuitive way. This is the intuitive way to read. This is like the order where the human eye reads, etc. But that's, even if there are obviously principles in database, remembering that actually the other person might have a really good point and that you don't know everything. You're only experiencing things the way you are, but no one has like 100% eye like on UX, but like it's just like completely encompasses the experience of everybody. So that was also really good. I think also, it forced us sometimes to test things that maybe we were not convinced, but but I'm gonna give it a try because I know that Sarah may have a point. And then you realize, oh yeah, no, actually, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, now that you say it, like now that I see it. So I think, that was good, also challenging us.
Yeah. Always good to get a second pair of eyes, right? And even if it's a project that you own, running it by someone else. And so what are some like takeaways like after doing this project and successfully, right? I would assume you guys think that this was a success, right?
Absolutely.
Did you know beforehand, or did you set that goal that you wanted to achieve something at the end of this? Or like was that something that you were really focusing on?
I'm laughing because I said to Sarah, this is going to be Viz of the day.
And I didnn't believe her. I was like,
when did you know that? When did you know that,
from the
Anne-Sophie?
get-go.
From the get-go?
I'm just like I'm a strong believer in like I knew it was going to be a quality. Like as soon as we got the data, like the thing is getting like through the hurdle of getting the data. I knew that the sunk cost fallacy would mean that we would finish this. And then I saw the work ethic of Sarah, just like, this is going to be Viz of the day. There is no way it's not, because we're going to do something which is so awesome that it's going to be fine. Really, I trusted this. Like I cannot tell you. And I'm a bit like I'm a very, very stubborn person. I'm not a fast learner, but I'm very stubborn. I knew that we were going to do something that looked good. Yeah. So I had no doubt.
For me, it ended up being my first Viz of the day. And so I wasn't sure about, can I produce a Viz of the day? I didn't know. So I just really relied on Anne-Sophie to cheer us on in that regard. But yeah, it's super thrilled with the end result.
You set your goals high, right? And that's what you try to achieve. You're not going to get something if you don't believe in yourself and you don't set your goals, right? This applies for everything in life and work, right? You have to set your goals high, and you have to try to visualize it before you do it, right? If you believe that you can do it, then only then will you do it. So I think that's a great lesson for anyone to take away, like set your goals, set timelines, and don't be afraid to set big goals that you think you can achieve, because what is it that allowed you to achieve this goal? Was it hard work? Was it time? Was it your skill set? Or is it all of the above?
All of the above and a little bit of luck. I mean, I feel like it was really fortunate that at a similar point in time, we both put our names into the Viz Collab hat, and Nicole Klassen paired us. Like I feel really lucky and fortunate. Anne-Sophie and I have never met in person, and we didn't know each other really at all before all of this. So I think like you were saying, the complementary skill set, the willingness to do hard work, the whole idea about producing something that's great, and then a dash of good fortune.
I think you create your own luck, right? I think that's also part of it, right? Like I know you said sometimes luck's involved, but um, you wouldn't have maybe got that opportunity if you didn't give yourself the opportunity to put you in a position to create that quote unquote luck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Um, so, it's like some people would not even start a project like this and say, it's too much work, it's not going to happen. But the hardest part is starting, right? It's actually, doing the work and starting it, and then you never know what comes from that, right? When I'll tell you a little bit of a personal story, not related to this dashboard, but like on the topic. Um, I started this podcast about a year ago. I did not know what would come of it, and what would be the result of it, but I just did it so I could meet people like you, and talk about data and network with people and share whatever insights I can get from. Um, and so this year, I was, as a result of, podcast was a part of it. Um, I got to be a Tableau ambassador, which I never thought would ever happen. And I don't know, somebody nominated me. I don't even know who it was. And as a result, I was like, oh, you know what? I can do it. So let me try. I probably would never have tried if I never got that nomination. But I think that's a lesson to learn from, is like, you can do it. You just have to try it, and just like, what do you have to lose? Not much to
Mhm.
lose. And I think your story here is very similar. Is you put yourself out there and you tried, and you did something that, Sarah, you didn't think would happen. Anne
Mhm.
Marie, or Anne Sophie, you believed in, but working together, you were able to put something, a project together, or a dashboard together that really met those expectations and goals.
Yeah, I would say that I believed in it because I think we had a good topic. Not everyone has seen the show, so granted, but the people who have seen the, and really, like if you think of it, the audience is people who have seen the show. Otherwise, like the dashboard is, I don't think it's that interesting to explore if you've never heard of the show, etc. But I think it's almost like knowing but what is the core of your audience, and are there enough people that would be either interested in the show or interested in the techniques? So it's yeah, that's it. That's a mix between the people who have seen Ted Lasso and the people who are interested in Tableau technique. So I don't know. I think that's why I was so confident. I would say one thing, portfolio project like or passion project like this, it's very easy to give up because there is no expectation. Like in business work, like you have a deadline, you have like a work, your salary depends on it. So you have a deadline. Portfolio project, no one is waiting for you. Like everyone is producing a lot of visuals every day, so no one is waiting for you. I would encourage people to collaborate because you are keeping somebody else accountable. After 3 months of pulling the data manually, there was no way I was going to give up on Sarah. Like, it's not something that you can do. So I think that's what it is also. It's just collaboration is not only good for sharing skills, etc., but also if you want to keep yourself accountable, like there's nothing better than peer pressure. And also another thing about collaboration, but I know that really was dear to Sarah and my heart. It's much easier to cheer for somebody else than yourself. It's much easier to say, look at how awesome Sarah is, but just like being, oh, look at how awesome I am. It's much easier to lift somebody else. and you celebrate their achievements. So I would say this also, if you're the type of person who thinks it's a bit cringy, it's just like, oh, just collaborate. That way you are just like cheering for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really fun at the end to say, like, look what we did, and be able to share with each other.
Yeah, no, that's great. So what's next? Is this the end of your collaboration, or are you guys still working together on something else? What's the future looking like?
I would collab again with Anne-Sophie in a heartbeat. We don't have anything in the works at the moment. But definitely open to it.
There's a season 3. Maybe we need to.
I know, right? Do we need to? Some people have asked about that because the dashboard is just the first 2 seasons. So
you gave a prediction at the end on the.
Yeah,
we did. Yeah.
You guys should now see how your prediction, how accurate that is.
Yeah.
We should do that. To be honest, on my side, I'm learning D3 and Svelte right now, so it's taking me a lot of time and willpower. So that's why, like, I'm trying to gather my strength for that. But I think there's scope for a lot of other opportunities to collaborate with Sarah. Like, and same thing, like, I would collaborate with you in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Are you Sarah and Anne-Sophie? You've never met before, but do you plan on attending Tableau Conference at some point in the future?
Really want to, like, I really want to. It's just a question of convincing my company, but if not, like a Tableau Conference, maybe another event, or just like just meeting just for
fun. Yeah. If I ever get across the pond, I would definitely knock on your door. But yeah, Tableau Conference is a short drive for me, and it's going to be again, so it's very easy for me to get to. But I know for Anne-Sophie, that's a big trip.
But I'm so happy though that, like, Sarah got to not only go to the last conference, but also to present and talk about this work on behalf of both of us. Like, I'm really glad also to see that, like it was a lot of hard work. I want to highlight this, especially unpaid work, But it really pays off in the sense of, like, all the things that we've learned, like, these are things that we're taking with us. And I just want to say that, like, really the craftsmanship, like everything that Sarah put in terms of technique, like it is, okay, it's like a cute dashboard, it's a passion project, etc. But, like, if there's real work behind it, and I'm so glad that she was recognized for that, and that she had the opportunity to present at Tableau. So yeah, we didn't meet in person, but you got to meet a lot of great people. I don't know if you guys actually met in person at that conference. Probably thousands of people. But I'm really glad that it opened also. It gave Sarah the recognition that she really deserves.
Yeah, I am planning to go to the next Tableau conference. Nothing booked yet or anything. So, Sarah for sure would meet up, and Anne-Sophie, if the opportunity presents itself, would be great for.
We're going to start campaigning for you now, Anne-Sophie.
Yes. How can people get in touch with both of you?
So surprisingly, I'm on LinkedIn, because that's where I work.
That's like
the best social network to follow me. And I have my personal website that I launched called Curious Data at Netlify. We'll drop a link. But
I'll drop a link. Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. And Sarah?
LinkedIn is an easy place to reach me. My blog is sarahpallett.com. That's another way as well. But yeah, I'd love to connect with other members of the Data Fam for sure.
Great. I'll drop all those links in the show notes for this podcast. But it's been great talking to both of you on this topic of collaboration. I think there's a lot of great takeaways here that people can adopt, even if they're not working on dashboards, just in general, collaboration in data and how that can help you personally and create a better product, regardless of what you're doing. Awesome. Great. So thank you so much, both of you. And who knows? Maybe we'll meet again in person.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.